I think it's your turn to do the artifacts.
It sure is, Jean-Paul. It sure is. I have an article about the World Cup
Okay.
so that we can discuss soccer.
I am really enjoying the World Cup this time around. I've never been a soccer person, but our eldest kid is really into it and has gotten me into it. And I'm finding the World Cup to be one of the more satisfying sporting events that I've recently been interested in.
Yeah, I'm actually not quite sure what we're going to do as a family when it's over.
We have to get into like Premier League soccer or some shit like that.
Well, it's nice to have a whole event that you can rally around that has like television available at all times that you can keep on at all times and not feel guilty about. So I'm not sure how we will replace that. I mean, we got Wimbledon, US Open. That's the kind of sporting event I like, the one where you just keep the screen on and have it like culminate in a very important champion.
I see.
Stakes have to be high.
I see.
March Madness. This is how I like to enjoy sports.
Yeah, I can see that. That fits with your history.
Sure does. Well, anyways, this article is from CounterPunch, and it's called Poisoning the World Cup the American Way. And it's sort of a rundown of all the terrible things that have happened.
I don't have much to compare it to because I've really not paid that much attention in the past, except for this well-known story that FIFA's an embarrassingly corrupt organization. But
I don't have much to compare it to either. I can say whenever these big sporting events with like a lot of required travel and infrastructure and stadium usage and stuff, whenever those come to any country or city, it does pretty horrific things. It creates like highly exploited laborers, and it creates like environmental disasters. This is particularly true of the Olympics because they're building massive infrastructure, but I'm sure that previous World Cups aren't great either. But this is a fun teardown of this World Cup.
okay. Well, I'm always in favor of shitting on the United States, so let's do it.
The football has been brilliant because football is brilliant. But the 2026 World Cup, hosted across US, Canada, and Mexico, mainly in America, is the most corrupt, polluted tournament in the tournament's 96-year history.
Bold claim.
This is a claim from Graham Peebles, who writes for CounterPunch. He's a freelance writer. I mean,
I don't know. I get this feeling that Peoples is a little biased, but I think I'm going to appreciate his bias. So continue.
Let's start with discrimination. Omar Artan, the first Somali referee ever invited to officiate a World Cup, was refused entry at a Miami airport, having already been issued a U.S. visa, based on spurious claims of, quote, terrorist connections. He flew home to a hero's welcome, celebrated for his dignified response to a humiliating ordeal.
Absolutely humiliating, but not for him.
Yeah.
For us.
I mean, what a terrible thing to take away from someone.
Yep.
Palestinian Football Federation President Jibril Rajoub was denied entry to the U.S. 15 members of Iran's delegation were refused visas, and the Iran national team were forced to commute from Mexico for matches in the U.S. So Iran traveled on every match day.
Yeah.
Because
which is,
they were in a group that had to play in the United States, but they had to travel because they weren't allowed to sleep over.
Yeah, I mean, silly. And they also weren't allowed to travel with a huge number of the people that they would normally have travel with them. Which it seems to me to be obviously designing their failure, which I think is what they said after the fact.
Iraqi striker Ayman Hussein was detained for nearly 7 hours at Chicago's O'Hare Airport, his mobile phone confiscated and searched. Iraqi team photographer Talal Salah was deported after more than 10 hours in detention. Brazilian journalist Karine Alves was racially profiled and subjected to a strip search upon arrival at the New Jersey airport.
Oh my God.
These are terrible things, but I have to wonder if this is not just what happens to people of color when they... Like, this isn't like a...
It's news
targeting
it's
of
FIFA related,
FIFA
but it's actually just how people are treated, like because of Trump, you think?
Yeah, like if you take enough like foreign nationals from certain countries and like push them through our airports, this is how you're treated.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I do think they're treated the Iranian team and the Somali referee poorly on purpose, but these other ones, I'm like, maybe this is just what happens if you're Iraqi and you go through Chicago O'Hare.
Yep.
Senegal and Ivory Coast fans were barred by Trump's travel bans. The Ivory Coast supporters group president said, quote, the U.S. government does not want to see supporters from certain countries, including the Ivory Coast, on its soil.
Why?
What did the Ivory Coast do?
Oh my God.
Dozens of Moroccan supporters, Morocco lost today, which is sad, were denied entry into the U.S. Many had purchased match tickets of around $500 each, with some buying 3 match packages totaling $1,500, and paid visa fees of $180, with total individual losses reaching up to $2,000 plus flights and hotel costs.
And they were barred entry?
The exclusion of African and Muslim majority nations was the pattern, a level of discrimination that makes a mockery of FIFA's claim that this was the most inclusive World Cup in history. So I guess masses of Moroccan fans had their visas denied.
Why? My understanding of the whole thing about the Peace Prize, the FIFA Peace Prize with Trump, was that this was their attempt to keep him from fucking up the World Cup. But it looks like they really didn't get very much. Like, he did everything he was going to do anyway, which is fuck with, like, African and Arab majority countries. So.
I mean, he was threatening to shut down airports. He was threatening to shut down international travel into certain airports near stadiums, and I guess he didn't do that.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's a counterfactual. Like, how bad will Trump
Yeah, how
be?
bad would it have been otherwise? Hard to say, I guess. I mean, awful.
It is the financial exploitation of supporters that stands out as the crudest, most visible form of corruption. From FIFA's eye-watering ticket prices to inflated air and train fares in the U.S., visceral greed has polluted the World Cup. Less than 2% of tickets have been made available at the much-trumpeted budget $60 price point, and even those were commanding resale prices averaging $1,600. The cheapest ticket for the final exceeds $2,600. The top category, originally priced at $6,730, rose to $32,970, an increase of 417%, thanks to dynamic pricing, a demand-based system designed to maximize FIFA's revenue.
Jesus.
Our 9-year-old, he likes to say, like, can you imagine who's at these games? Like, would you want to sit with all those rich people?
Oh, smart Alec. But no.
No, yeah, that's not the group I would choose.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that the people who can afford those are willing to sit in those seats, but they're like sitting in the grandstand for the first time in their life.
U.S. airlines operating flights to host cities bumped up their fares by an average of 42%.
Oh my God.
Public transport to stadiums has been similarly exploited. A standard $13 journey from New York to MetLife rose to $98 on match days.
Oh my God.
But at least it's going to the public transit, so I guess that means they're going to fill potholes with that money.
Sure.
FIFA's ticket pricing has been so extortionate that prosecutors in New York and New Jersey have launched legal investigations into FIFA's tariffs, citing unreasonably high ticket costs. Total revenue for the 2022-2026 cycle is projected to be FIFA's highest ever, hitting $13 billion, virtually double the $7.57 billion generated in the previous period, and a 73% increase on the 2019-2022 cycle.
That's
inflation.
They shouldn't be taking a penny. I assume that FIFA is a nonprofit, but am I insane to think that?
Why would you assume FIFA is a nonprofit?
Yeah, it is.
What are they mission driven to do?
I guess
provide rich people opportunities to watch soccer. It's certainly not to stand against racism, because the Egyptian coach did the stand against racism signal during the Egypt game, because apparently they have a whole system, a whole protocol where if you cross your hands and it's like an X, it's to indicate that some sort of racial epithet or racial abuse is happening, and it's supposed to be taken seriously.
Oh, really?
The Egyptian coach did that during the Egypt-Argentina game, and there was a lot of talk about Argentinian fans being awful.
Oh, really?
And he was yellow carded.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
I mean, talk about standing against racism. What is FIFA's mission? FIFA's mission is to develop the game of football globally, touch and unite the world through tournaments, and build a better future by empowering communities. So they're going to do what with that $17 billion?
Well, what they say is that they reinvested into the organization. They have all these promotions to like spread soccer around. But the problem with all these nonprofits and why it's like, is it really like no one's making profit? Because the officers make a killing.
How much does the FIFA president earn an annual compensation?
I'm going to guess above $20 million a year.
He's not a university president. He's just the FIFA president.
I would expect
$6 million. $6 million.
I would expect to make more than that.
It is still a nonprofit. Most nonprofit executives, even the really big ones, aren't making.
Yeah, but one that's as corrupt as this, they're making money on the side, is my guess.
I
bet you he makes more money on the side than he does from the actual salary.
That's his annual salary plus his bonus, but I'm sure he has other ways of making money.
Yeah.
He looks like exactly like Austin Powers villain. Gianni Infantino, who we will be speaking about more.
Yeah. He would be on first name basis with Trump if Trump could pronounce his first name.
Gianni. I'm sure he's got a weird nickname for him.
Yeah.
Gianni. The 2026 World Cup is the perfect union of filth and greed. I mean, it's one of many in the United States of America. The major host America, a country led by the most corrupt president in U.S. history, and FIFA, an unethical, unaccountable organization led by a sycophantic megalomaniac, Gianni Infantino, appears to see himself as the head of the nation state rather than football's governing body.
That's quite a combination. Sycophantic megalomaniac.
Why is this guy?
It's almost a contradiction in terms.
Why does this guy hate Gianni Infantino so much? Infantino also oversaw the 2022 World Cup, which was in Qatar, and apparently there was a lot of minimizing of human rights problems.
Those are the ones where apparently you just get like bags of cash in a hotel in order to make it happen. And a lot of these nations like Qatar and the next one's in Saudi Arabia. The next one's in Saudi Arabia? 2034.
They've got it scheduled all the way to 2034?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we're going to have soccer then.
I
don't know if Saudi Arabia will have stadiums then.
Yeah, the Iranian war will take care of that. No, but like a lot of these countries use it not to like legitimize the way that they behave, but sort of to make you like have to ignore it, right? Like you came to Saudi Arabia for the World Cup, so don't stand on your high horse about what we do. And in order to get that, I think that they pay these guys billions of dollars.
And that's what the U.S. did too. You came to the U.S. for the World Cup. Don't get in your high horse about how we treat people here.
Right, no kidding. I mean, they wanted the legitimacy. I think FIFA wanted the legitimacy that the United States allows, and that they had to play nice with Trump to get it to happen.
Apparently, Infantino is known for his positive friendships with authoritarian heads of state like Putin and the ruling families of Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and of course, the one and only Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's literally his job, is glad-handing authoritarians to get
to spread the love of the game.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's emerging out of all of this, though, is these people who think that they can work Donald Trump by kissing his ass, and that was like what everyone tried to do for the first like few months of his presidency. They were all wrong. None of them get what they want out of him. All he gets is ass kissing, and then he does what he wants anyway. The people who he respects are the people who don't, and who make him respect the fact that they can damage him. Those are the people he respects. So I think people's like tendency to inflate like Gianni's ability to manipulate him have missed the point, which is that they all of them misread what Trump actually was.
Infantino is married to a Lebanese woman, and he just was granted Lebanese citizenship, even though it's apparently against Lebanese citizenship law for the woman to allow the man to get citizenship through the woman. And I'm sure this is just part of Infantino glad-handing with whoever he glad-hands with. But do you think he has an opinion about the U.S.'s role in the bombing of Lebanon?
I think that he probably makes it a point to not have opinions about much of anything.
I can't believe there are people like this. As Reboot FIFA states, FIFA isn't fit to govern world football and needs to be rebooted as an organization so that it runs the global game in the interests of the players, supporters, and communities rather than the interests of corrupt football elites, big business, and authoritarian states. FIFA's institutional cowardice was revealed in the starkest way on the 5th of July when the U.S. forward Folarin Balogun, who had been given a red card in the match with Bosnia-Herzegovina, miraculously had his automatic suspension lifted just before the knockout game against Belgium. It turned out that Trump, who admits to not knowing anything about football, had telephoned Infantino and asked FIFA to review the red card decision. Infantino agreed, and the one-match ban was swiftly suspended, allowing Balogun to play against Belgium. Trump later boasted, quote, "I'm the one that got them to do it."
The Karen president.
The Karen
Can I
president.
speak to the manager, please? My question about this is, after obviously being tickled like everyone else that he whined and complained, and then once again got what he wanted, and then the U.S. lost anyway. Now my new conspiracy theory is that he has never spoken to Gianni about this at all. Do we have any confirmation besides Trump saying that he made this phone call?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, FIFA's not going to be like, we overturned it because they called us.
It's the perfect thing for Trump to hear that an overturn happened and then to take credit for it after the fact. That's a perfect Trump move.
That is a perfect Trump move. Brussels wants action over this controversy. So apparently they're demanding 72 members of the European Parliament demanded an investigation into Gianni Infantino after this lifting of the red card.
What a stupid
Politico is saying...
What a stupid thing to do.
Politico is saying... I mean, this sounds pretty official. Apparently, after the game, Andrew Giuliani, that name might sound familiar, the son of Rudy Giuliani, who's got some role where he's in charge of World Cup for the United States.
I won't stand for this anti-Italian racism on the podcast.
It's a totally made-up role. I can't imagine you need a Giuliani in charge of World Cup in the United States. But Trump's like, yeah, you can have World Cup because he thinks it's about a cup. Trump and Giuliani called Trump, let him know that this had happened. And apparently it probably had to then explain things like
what a red card is, what the next game means.
Trump and Giuliani were speaking regularly about the World Cup. So it's not the first time he'd received a phone call about it. And then by Wednesday night, the White House had committed to taking action over the red card, according to Politico.
Committed to who?
Giuliani, the Commerce Secretary Lutnick, and the senior U.S. Soccer Federation officials, all of whom had watched the Bosnian match in person, began activating plans to challenge the referee's on-field decision. Successful appeals of World Cup red cards are exceedingly rare. That then kicked off 4 days of coordinated lobbying, legal maneuvering, and diplomacy that stretched from the Oval Office to FIFA's headquarters in Zurich, and underscored how invested Trump's inner circle had become in the second World Cup hosted on U.S. soil and the fortune of the U.S. men's national team. Politico spoke to half a dozen U.S. government and soccer officials who were either directly involved in or briefed on that week's event. So it sounds pretty real to me.
I guess so. I guess they really did. It's too bad that the U.S. lost because we're now going to re-enter the war with Iran, and if the U.S. was still in it, they probably had been too distracted by FIFA. I mean, can you imagine all these people this obsessed with the...
This is like the most like motivated they've been to do like basic diplomacy in years. Right. It's like The Diplomat on Netflix was activated, but it's just about like a red card.
Right, yeah.
It's about a sport none of them have watched.
Yeah. And it is perfect Trump diplomacy because it's him calling and threatening until he gets what he wants and not giving anything to anybody. And this guy is probably cooked now.
Infantino, FIFA declines to confirm any specifics of the discussions, but have reiterated that the decision to suspend the ban was made by an independent disciplinary committee. Oh, sure.
Well, I'm satisfied.
Giuliani and Scott Goodwin. Who's Scott Goodwin, you ask? A hedge fund manager who had helped to personally pay the salary of the U.S. coach Mauricio Pochettino, zeroed in on the officiating history of the particular referee involved. Articles examining previous controversies. Oh, I heard Trump talk about this. He was like, this guy's got a history.
Anti-American bias.
Articles examining previous controversies, including the Brazilian referee, circulated among senior government officials as they evaluated every possible argument. So they briefed Trump on, this guy's a schemer. So that's a little bit of background. I think your conspiracy theory is incorrect. I think there's quite a bit of a paper trail that the entire U.S. government activated to reverse the red card.
You have a whole list of arguments that Trump's supposed to use. He just ignores it.
To the delight of football fans around the world, who were outraged by the injustice of FIFA's actions, Belgium hammered the U.S. 4-1. By playing Balogun, the U.S. team revealed itself to be devoid of principles and complicit in the corruption of Trump and Infantino. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. Yeah, I did hear that Balogun went and talked to the Belgian coach afterwards and kind of was like, made nice and was like, I'm just playing soccer. Yeah. And the Belgian coach was like, that guy's got, class and he's a good sportsman. I don't think any sports person would sit out if the official governing body reversed the call. I think if you play soccer, you play soccer.
100% agree that taking this out on the coach or the players is really off base, in my opinion. Even taking it out on Trump is off base. This is completely corruption.
I mean, if he wants to waste his time like calling FIFA,
then that's better for everybody.
It was working out really well for everything else in the country.
Yeah.
It apparently, Infantino is a spineless bastard. I mean, did he really think that like giving this guy a fake peace prize would get him off his back? It probably just made Trump more like likely to push for stuff.
Yep.
Poisoning everything is the subtitle of the next part of this article.
Okay.
All of this filth The manipulation of the rules, the discrimination, and the corruption reveals two entwined issues, pervasive and polluting. The total disregard for the law by the rich and powerful, particularly Trump and other demagogues, and the socioeconomic doctrine of greed and division, which affects the lives of everyone everywhere. An unjust, reductive system that reduces everything to a commodity and everyone to a consumer. Show me the lie. Yeah. This is the American way, a world without substance, where money and winning are everything, a crass, materialist world in which wealth and power buy impunity, and the vulnerable and marginalized can be ignored and exploited. It is loud and hollow, and it poisons everything it touches. In spite of all the ugliness, and to the utter credit of the players and the fans, the football has been brilliant, because football is brilliant, uniting people across cultures, creating moments of collective joy and drama that will live long in the memory.
I don't know if it's connected people so much as it's pitted against each other, but
well, sports does get people to have something that the entire world is paying attention to is kind of
it is cool.
It's a cool thing.
That's a cool part of it.
I appreciate Graham's fiery tone and distaste for America.
I agree. I do have to say that I don't think that what he's describing is uniquely American. I kind of feel like any capitalist / whatever what you call Qatar and Saudi Arabia feudal rentier society will have the same cultural emptiness. But
I agree. Infantino is un-American, very European.
Yeah. They're gonna have it in Germany, and it'll suddenly be what it always have been.
Well, and also I do think that what peace starts with all this like anti-immigrant stuff, and that might be particularly American in this moment. Like, I do think Trump was targeting people, and I do think our immigration situation is inhumane and horrifying. Not that it's better in a lot of European countries, but how much of this is just like all the World Cups from here on out are going to be more materialistic, more greedy, make more money, do more price gouging. Like, this is just it's just a upward trajectory of the elite, corrupt elite doing more, taking more, making more.
Yep.
So the next one will be worse, and the next one after that will be worse, and the next one after that will be worse.
No, I 100% agree. It's going to be increasingly become like a festival for like the extremely rich and powerful. It'll be a money making.
Oh, like bonanza. That one. Remember the one on the island? What was the one on the island where all the bathrooms stopped working?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I also I'm very worried about soccer as a sport because it seems so easy for the refs and the organization to cheat on behalf of certain countries that I don't know. At a certain point, with high definition TVs and enough people watching, at some point someone's going to go, they're just picking who's winning and losing. Like, why are we even invested in this? They're picking who's winning and losing.
I am not a soccer aficionado. Mm-hmm. I have watched 35 times more games of soccer in the last 2 weeks than in my whole life. And I know we live in a time where conspiratorial thinking is at the tips of our tongues because this is what the decline into absurdist fascism brings us to. But yes, it does seem like if the ref wants to, they can make a call at any given time in the box and get a team a goal.
Yeah.
Or not make a call in the box and take a goal away.
Yep. Or not even in the box. Just you can reward possession as often as you want because there's contact on every play.
And I mean, what makes soccer so exciting, and I think that by far the best game we watched was the last Cape Verde game, it is extremely high drama because the scoring is so low and like the difference between winning and losing is so close the whole time, even if the teams aren't really evenly matched.
Yeah.
Which means it's extremely high stakes to have these refs doing things. And I didn't feel like the VAR, the review system, contributed positively to the officiating.
Especially if the VAR would reveal illegal contact every single time you looked at it.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I read something that was like, every European knew that was a red card. Only the Americans didn't understand it was a red card. And I'm like, maybe that's true. Maybe we're a bunch of dummies that don't know football.
I have no opinion on whether it was a legit red card or not.
But I'm like, I guess it seems like there's a lot of discretion by the ref, and there's not an actual interest in removing that discretion because there's a lot of like play on choices and then not play on choices. We saw some games get really out of control because it felt like they weren't officiating enough.
Yeah.
And then they try to tamp down on it, and then they're over officiating. So it is very different than like the officiating you see in like basketball or football, where the rules are just more clear.
Yeah, and the stakes of a call are much lower.
Yeah.
Right? Like in basketball, like unless it's like the final minute, like final seconds of the game, every single basket doesn't matter that much.
Yep.
So every individual call doesn't matter that much.
Every individual possessions don't matter that much. Yeah. And the games, there are close games, but most games are not. Most games do not stay within like within a single strike, within like striking distance of a single field goal most of the time.
Yeah. So I guess then the solution to this is find ways to tweak the rules so that the games are higher scoring.
No. That would, Jesus. And that's how you coach youth football. Shoot it! Shoot it!
We're only winning 9-1.
If you hit the ball, just shoot it. If they've got the ball at any point, just shoot it. It's the only way we can make the officiating fair. No, I think a functional society could manage this, but one that is on the verge of like persistent descent into conspiracy, and one that's being managed, apparently FIFA and these major sports organizations being managed by weird like mafiosos and elites.
Again with the anti-Italian racism.
The guy is from Zurich. It does seem like a recipe for a bit of a disaster, which is sad because it is kind of like it's like the everyman's game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
They have to steal everything from us.
They do. They really do. They just have to find a referee for every game that hates both countries.
Well, that'll be easy. That seems really possible.
Once they get rid of all of the countries where that aren't white majority, they'll be able to do that pretty easily.
This is an awkward segue, but it brings me to this question: in the world we imagine, do you allow like geographically bound? The world we imagine is classless. Doesn't have borders. Doesn't have nation states. Doesn't have nationalism. But we want to have World Cup soccer because it's been really fun.
Yeah.
So are we allowing geographically bound teams to play one another? Or will that descend into tribalism and nationalism? Do we have to have like a complete lottery system?
Yeah, a draft every single time.
Yeah,
of
like
every
a completely sort of equitable draft. But like you might get like you live in labor in Greece, but for this World Cup you have to go play for the Southwest Antarctic corridor.
No, every team would be assigned a random string of numbers. Yeah, you can't have any advantages.
But the serious question is this type of like, having a cheering for your country in a sporting event, does that create a risk to like descent into nationalism if you're in like a communist situation?
Yeah. The answer is yes, there's a risk. And I think that after
one worth taking.
After 100 years of people behaving themselves,
we can have
World
Cup
nationalism as a treat.
So you're saying after 100 years of communism, we get to have World Cup soccer back.
So I guess to take your question a little bit more seriously.
Yes, please do.
Geography is not nation. Nation is a very particular thing.
Right.
However, you can be nationalistic about ethnicity. So you have to find a way to like.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. Give us some prime examples.
In fact, you can create entire national projects around an ethnicity where no nation actually exists.
Don't tell Marco Rubio that.
So you have to find a way to do it. I think that you would do it geographically, but you'd have to do it geographically in a way that deliberately undermines people's predisposition to like have like ethnic national identity.
So you would need to make sure your geographies are multiracial, multi-ethnicity, if people understand race and ethnicity at this point. And then you could have like geographically based teams. And would there be a risk of tribalism? And is tribalism a danger? Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing. Like the point is not to abolish culture. And a culture is necessarily it's a phenomenon that I don't know. I guess you could say the internet might change this, but like it's geographically bound. Like there's a center of the culture and then it spreads out and bleeds on the periphery into other cultures, right?
Particularities of culture that are often geographically bound.
Right.
Or centered.
And there's no reason, and part of that has to do with like history of the place, and part of it's just historical accidents.
And some of it's pure geography, like the weather, actual land and weather, climate.
What the food can grow there is, and all that kind of thing. I don't think there's any reason to even consider abolishing anything like that. You couldn't anyway.
So you're a pro-culture communist.
I'm a pro-culture communist, and I think that people should be proud of their cultures. Like I enjoy indulging, I enjoy sharing it with other people. I enjoy other people sharing theirs with me. I think but I know which one is mine, right? There's still an element of
Which
like,
one's yours? Is it communist?
well, one of the yeah, so, one of the problems with our current predicament is we don't really have a culture, which is too bad because I think that is a uniquely. I think that people who get to have a culture are lucky because their lives are richer for it, and I think a lot of white Americans are very jealous of that, which is why everyone pretends to be like Irish or some shit like that, and also hates people who do have culture, actively hates them.
I think some of it people get from religion in the United States. I don't know that it's culture, but I think I think one of the gaps that is created is filled by religious community and religious ritual and religious things to do.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Although the church going population in the United States is very small, but
well, it's growing. As a white as a white atheist American, I have no culture.
It's eating out.
Oh, my culture's eating out.
It's eating.
I think it's wine.
Right, which is it's functional alcoholism and eating out. That was one of the reasons why the COVID thing was such a shit show.
For us or for America?
Because for America, because white America's culture is eating out. So when they took that away, people lost their mind because that was the only culture they had.
This is an interesting theory.
Yeah. I guess you could say prestige TV too, but anyway, that being said, like
tribalism.
The trouble is there's nothing about culture that implies better or worse than or an investment in winning and losing, and that is where the trouble starts. And I guess I don't, you don't have to be too, like, we're not talking about this of like we get a small cabal of people decides to infantilize humanity by making these decisions. This is decisions that humanity would have to make as a whole, which is it worth the risk to participate in this like indulgence and like something that's from the past that has these dangers of like tribalism or like allegiance to something that's like smaller than the world or smaller than humanity. And I don't know what decision they would pick, but I think sport is a really good thing, and I think sport would continue. And to have sport, you have to have winners and losers, and there's no problem there.
No.
As long as it doesn't extend to like I'm watching the team I root for and we won, therefore we're superior to that other group.
Yeah, I think that. Well, one thing I'm going to go back to what you said about culture, but I do think one thing that's interesting about like worldwide sport events, you have diehard fans and people really want their teams to win.
Mm-hmm.
But barring the ones that are just like horrifying racists to begin with, I think that it's actually humanizing and connecting to see folks from countries that are very different than yours playing the same sport as yours, and sometimes you're rooting for them, and sometimes like you're actually engaging with different people in different cultures in a way that's actually common.
Yeah.
The sport actually creates commonness and connection that you don't necessarily have. So when you're watching something like World Cup, first of all, you've got a million things to watch, and you're not only rooting for Argentina the whole time because Argentina's not even playing the whole time.
Sure.
And then you're also like able to watch like an amazing goal or an amazing save by a person of a country or nationality that you have no connection to. So I actually think, yes, you want your team to win. Yes, there will be some people that are like, my race is superior, and therefore I'm still a racist piece of shit about, winning over this African country. But I actually think it's an opportunity for most fans to just have more in common with one another than be against one another.
So on the flip side of that,
you're telling me about horrible racist like chants and things.
Well, I don't know. I mean, all that would go away, right? So you have to. The thought experiment sort of assumes that a lot of that stuff goes away. Maybe.
Well, no, I'm saying if there's horrible racist chants in the current. There are horrible racist things currently with soccer fans, so I do think I'm not trying to whitewash that, but I do think there's positives even in the current state what sports can do for people.
Yeah, I have watched Norway knock out teams that I wanted to proceed, and I have this idea that Holland, maybe unjustifiably, is like a little bit right wing. And because of that, and so there's politics of like poison this, but I've also watched Norway easily beat teams that I wanted to see move on in the tournament. So now I kind of want them to lose. And I kind of have a negative feeling about
that's so funny because I have the opposite. I also was like, I don't care for this Holland person, which I think is a knee-jerk reaction to his hairdo.
Inexplicably terrible. Like,
And I haven't, but then I've watched Norway play a few times, and I'm like, he is athletically extremely fun to watch.
yeah.
And extremely impressive. And this Norway team is quite fun to watch and very impressive. And so I'm on the like, I kind of like watching Norway now, like go Norway. So I had the exact opposite. Also, I'm weirdly getting fed Instagram content where like it's like Holland's kind of a weirdo. Like he's just like a goofy weirdo. And so somehow along my algorithm they were like rehabilitate Holland. But
Because
no,
he's been playing soccer since he was from almost every day for the entire day since he was 4 years old.
No,
So he's
not Norway.
A 12-year-old. Oh,
so that's the other thing.
Well, he was born in the UK.
Well, I don't know what he did when he was living in the UK, but I did read about Norway's approach to youth sports. And it is not the American approach, the poisonous American approach to youth sports. They do not keep score until the kids are well into like early adolescence, teenage years. They do not give participation trophies. They do not specialize. Kids are not specializing in like travel youth sports that don't let you do any other sports until they're well into later high school and college. So I don't know Holland's particular journey, but I've decided that Norway is the way that you should be doing youth sports. And yeah, I have found my like initial biases and teams I liked and disliked to have faded as I've watched more soccer, not increased, except Ronaldo's team.
Portugal?
Couldn't get into Portugal. And I'm a little bit anti-Argentina now after the debacle with Egypt. But I'll probably start watching Argentina and be like, oh my gosh, I love all these teams.
Yeah. Argentina is an easy one to hate because of all the Nazis that live there, but
I don't think there are that many Nazis on the team, though. All the Nazis there are like 85 years old, right?
I mean, they had kids.
Oh, they're raising Nazis?
I don't know if they...
But can you imagine being...
It's sort of hard to...
Can you imagine being against the U.S. team because all the Nazis we have here?
I am against the U.S. team. Hold on. He grew up in Norway, so he did that, and I think that whole story, like, because I've become convinced that in order to compete at the highest possible level, you basically have to have these kids.
You have been convinced of that. That's an American poison.
Yeah, and it's not true. It's
not
just
true.
straight up not true. I mean, there's no American players that are playing on Holland's level, so obviously you don't need that level of training to get top level.
And there's a lot of data that shows that what you get en masse when you have that level of specialization and competition early is a ton of burnt out kids that do not play any sports. Not good.
No. Okay. So the fact that our kids refuse to even practice a little bit is probably a good sign that they have longevity in the sport.
Well, we have one kid that's completely focused on soccer and doesn't think he can do any other sport. That's not a good sign.
No.
And then we have other kids that are, well, the only one old enough to really make a judgment on is like dibble dabbling. And I think that's fine. I actually think the one who's decided that soccer is their only sport is at risk of never being able to truly try the other sports and enjoy them.
Yeah.
Because it's achievement oriented.
I agree.
I have some baggage with this myself.
Yeah.
But I do think that a lot of this has to do with the youth sport culture. It's not our problem or the kids' problem. It's like, it's very hard to engage in sports with youth sports if you're basically being fed into overly competitive, overly burdensome on your schedule sporting activities.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it is in Norway or in other places, because also the sports are part of the school day and the parents have better fucking childcare options.
Yeah. Hmm.
So none of our kids are going to play on a World Cup team, I think.
Probably not. I mean...
Maybe the U.S. team.
For those of you who don't know, Simone, once upon a time, was the top regional shuffleboard player for her age. And just... there were some heartbreaking breaks and stories in there.
I lived on a remote island in my adolescence, and I was the premier shuffleboard player. And then I had a thumb injury, and that was the end of that.
Yep.
All my scholarships dashed.
That's terrible how they treat student athletes.
I had to be a shuffleboard instructor aboard cruises after that. It was a real downfall.
All the students look at your thumb and quickly look away.
Yeah.
Afraid to ask you what happened.
I know, and I'm happy to talk about the shuffleboard injury, but it is a deformed thumb.
You do have to get you a glass of wine first, though.
That's true, and I take those for free. I also want to talk about culture a little bit, because I agree that culture in and of itself, and even geographically bound culture that's different than another geographically bound culture, doesn't have a hierarchy, an inherent hierarchy, an inherent like winners and losers. It also doesn't require like an us versus them kind of thinking, unless you're competing over resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which should never happen.
So if you're not competing over resources, there's no reason to denigrate, oh, they eat this food or they sing this song, because it's unnecessary. There's no reason for culture or ways of living and being to be in competition with one another if the competition is not for anything.
Right. I think that's right. I think like people do say like our food is better than your food, but that's a product of like having culture in a competitive environment, not a necessary feature of culture itself.
Well, and like I say, don't yuck my yum. I think that will be a major tenet of the communist cabal that I run.
You get what you get and you don't get upset.
Don't yuck my yum. You get what you get. We're all on the same team. Stop fighting.
There is like some part of cultural norm is like what is normal and what is yucky and icky. That one can be dangerous.
And you don't think that's not? Yes, that's not.
Because there are taboos which are based upon like human nature, like poop and food do not mix because that's dangerous materially. But some taboo is not.
Yeah, like there's cultures that would drink blood.
Yeah,
and there's cultures. Well, actually, a lot of cultures have drinking of some blood in there. But anyways, like there's
like eating bugs, for instance.
Eating bugs,
and if you don't count lobster as a bug,
eating pig.
Eating pig is a big one.
So they
eating dogs
for different reasons. Societies have developed different. A lot of it's usually based on health, but because they have different material circumstances, they've figured out different. They've had different rules about health.
Sure.
And with the current parasitic outbreak, the new rule is don't eat unwashed produce.
I guess that.
And also, I found out don't eat produce with nooks and crannies unless you're very serious about scrubbing it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So
do
like
you know that
raspberries?
raspberries. And also you're supposed to scrub the cantaloupe.
The outside?
Yes, because you cut through.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. But wash your vegetables.
So I guess you would have to sort of front load open-mindedness and like a predisposition to reflect upon your own taboos in a more like rigorous way.
Non-threatened humans are capable of doing that.
Yeah. No,
it's pretty easy.
I 100% agree with that.
It's also how most humans raise their children to be. Like at a very basic level, you're asking your kids to like show up to do a bunch of unexpected things with unexpected adults doing unexpected traditions and habits that no one warned them about, and you're just asking them to go along to get along. So if a 3, 4, and 5-year-old can do it.
Yeah. Actually, I suspect that one of the emotional drivers of MAGA, there's something emotionally satisfying about being closed-minded, to like have a knee-jerk reaction to a thing and
be justified,
to know that it is unjustified, but to like
be entitled to have it anyways.
Yes. And I watched this, like where I grew up, homophobia was less of an intellectual exercise than like a knee-jerk reaction, and I watched people feel attached to that knowing that they would not be able to intellectually justify it, but still getting a kick out of indulging in it anyway. So that's a real dangerous thing.
That's entitlement. I don't think entitlement will be allowed.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in some ways everyone will be entitled to their basic needs.
Right.
And no other entitlement will be allowed.
I mean, I'm not even sure about that, to be honest.
Everyone will be entitled to some of their basic needs being met some of the time.
Everyone will be entitled. I'll compromise here. Everyone will be entitled to an opportunity to get their own basic needs met in collaboration with others. So it's a very different.
Like I say, you get what you get, and you don't get upset.
As you grow.
All right, done and dusted?
Done and dusted.
Your powers will fade as you grow old. You're on the make, and you don't do regret. You're always out for what you can get. You think like a snake, and you ooze like a snail. Let the trail go cold as you swallow your tail. With your low-rent skills and your heart of flint, telling your tales that are unfit to print. You're all weasel words, backed up by the boots, obsessed like the rest. the promise of loot. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old.
I love you.